Thank you for joining me for 10 Minutes with the Artist, an episodic series that explores the professional practice as well as the personal vision that guides artists. On today's episode, we're very proud to have Derek Hutzenbuhler. Derek recently exhibited works from his series 24 Hours at the Memorial Union Gallery for the Hysterical Sublime Exhibition. 24 Hours is a deeply personal and even emotional exploration of the places where missing persons were last seen. The series seeks to tie together a story that's innately steeped in mystery by sharing the details of the people and places that harness a great unknown. I'm Anthony Ferris, and this is 10 Minutes with the Artist. So I'd like to welcome Derek Hatzenbuhler to 10 Questions with the Artist. One of the things that I'm kind of curious about is your work is titled 24 Hours.
Yep.
Okay. And that is an indication of the time required for somebody to actually be considered missing.
Correct.
And what I'm thinking about is, can you talk about that first 24 hours? I think a lot of us can relate to that idea of the 24 hours after that, you know? But maybe the first 24 hours.
I think it's definitely... So I kind of wanted to get, the first 24 hours no one really knows about, obviously, because it's, that time that person went missing, and so it's obviously a really stressful time for the family because they don't really understand, or, they don't really know where that person is, and so that person might show up yet, but at the same time, they might never see that person again, and so that's kind of what my piece is trying to capture is, what happens after that first 24 hours, and so, that they never saw that person again, that they just kind of, fell off the face of the earth, and so, yeah, I feel like the first 24 hours, though, is probably a very stressful time for the family and just for the community in general because the community doesn't even really know about it at that point. So it's only after that first 24 hours that the community really understands what's going on.
Okay. So it changes from the family being stressed out and unsure to activity in the community.
Yeah.
And sort of a social, everybody accepts the fact that this person is no longer with us.
Yep.
In some manner.
Yeah, correct.
So it looked like you visited the locations. Is that true?
Yeah, so what I did, some of the locations I couldn't make it to because of time constraints and things like that, but there were a few that were the exact places, and then other ones, like the one of Gina, it wasn't exactly her. I didn't want to go outside of her house if her family still lived there and take pictures of it, so I kind of just replicated it in a way that still made it look like it could be that place, even though it might not actually be that place. So I didn't put that context, though, in my actual project, so if you're just looking at it, it would look like it is that place, when in actuality, some are replications and some are the actual location.
Okay. It's I don't know how we would necessarily know the difference unless you told us.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
Which makes me think it sort of works with that whole metaphor of not knowing where someone is.
Correct, yeah.
So why did you choose photography instead of some other medium to explore this subject matter?
A lot of it, I think, photography helped me to give it it's very, you can manipulate the photos really easily, and so I wanted to give it an old-time look because a lot of the people disappeared 30 to 40 years ago, and so I wanted to, give it that old-time look. Also, I feel like giving it a static image where it's they are in the past, and a video would make it seem more like an ongoing thing where I kind of wanted to make it seem like this happened in the past, and so now we're in a separate time period looking at something that happened a while ago instead of an ongoing thing that a video would have given me. So and like I said, the being able to manipulate the images to give them an aged effect and things like that as well.
Well, in the exhibition Hysterical Sublime, where your body of work, 24 Hours, is part of the exhibition, you do have the imagery, and then can you talk a little bit about some of the other supplemental materials that you have that sort of informs the viewer?
Yeah, so I have the images, and that's just one, my favorite from each of the series, and then the other images that are played on a slideshow are supposed to give a little bit more context. So it was just kind of more images to fill in other angles and other viewpoints within that location. So it wasn't just the one image. I kind of wanted to give, more context to the place that the person went missing.
Okay. And, after 20 years,
Mhm.
which some of the people in your body of work actually have been missing for that long, do you think that the word missing becomes a euphemism for something else?
I think so. Yeah, a lot of most likely, the people that went missing are obviously probably no longer with us. Some for sure, like Gina, for example, they were pretty positive that she passed away because they found the guy and he confessed to it, but they could never find her body. So there's still that, like, uncertainty, and I mean, maybe some people are still hoping for the best, like the family members, because you never want to give up hope that the person's no longer with you. But I think that it definitely is a euphemism for that they just have passed on and they are no longer on this planet anymore.
One of the interesting things that I found in your work is that there's an inclusion of this narrative from the last hour or the last day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like the story that we tell ourselves about somebody who's missing. Instead of talking about their actual life,
Mm-hmm.
we talk about that last hour.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about maybe the power of that narrative?
Yeah, I think it is kind of interesting that when you're talking about people that have gone missing, no one really cares about who they were as a person, or it's always mostly about, that last hour, or it's always about how that person went missing or what's happened to them now, but you never really know anything about their life before because it doesn't really seem like anyone really cares about that all that much because it's this big event that everyone cares about. And so I think that is an important thing about the project, and I think it does tie into the narrative as well.
We're talking about this, and I think that this is something that we do a lot when we're interpreting work is we look at it in a very kind of clear way because we're trying to interpret the information that you've given us. But the truth is that this work is incredibly emotive. It's incredibly deals with a fragility that is very intense.
Mm-hmm.
And is there something that you can maybe tell us about your experience in creating this work that maybe something relatable that maybe we might not see from the body of work by itself?
I would say that. Well, actually, could you repeat the question one more time?
Well, I'm just kind of curious if there was some sort of emotional moment in creation of this.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about it right now in a very separated way.
Yeah.
But the truth is that when you look at this body of work, you're moved.
Yep.
And it's something that people are drawn to.
Yeah. I would say probably the most emotional impact that I had when taking the series was being in the ones that I actually went to that location. It was definitely kind of eerie being in that spot that I knew that someone, for instance, I can't remember his name now. Bruce Falconer. He disappeared in the desert in Bismarck, and they never found his body. So, I guess they haven't found any of these people, but it was they assumed that he disappeared and is lying somewhere in the woods there because the other person that went missing that was with him, they found his body later just buried in some trees. And so that was kind of an eerie experience because that he very well could have been somewhere that I was walking, buried under the sand or something like that. So yeah, I definitely think that those places that I actually was in the real location, those ones were more so emotional for me than the ones that I was just replicating. But yeah, I would say for sure that in those experiences, it was definitely an emotional thing for me.
Okay. One of the things that we like to do at the very end of our interviews is sort of talk about the creative process that people are sort of going through. So I was wondering if there's anything specifically that you're reading right now?
Not anything specific that I'm reading right now, no.
Okay. And how about when you're creating your work, are you listening to any sorts of music or?
I don't really ever listen to music when I'm trying to get work done because I feel like it distracts me because I'll like hear a song and then I want to like sing to it. So I kind of like to just be kind of silent when I'm doing my work. I guess there were a few times where like people would be in the lab with me playing music, and that wasn't too bad. But yeah, for the most part, I usually just kind of like to have like my quiet space where I can get things done.
Okay. If you had to have a dinner with any artist, who do you think that you'd want to have dinner with?
You know, I would say, just because I've never actually seen any of her work, I would like to see some of Megan's work. And also, she's kind of the one that's pushed me and in this class and made me like think of things in different ways. And so I would kind of like to understand the creative process that's going on behind her, like her work, because that's kind of what has largely influenced how I've done a lot of my things. So.
Okay. And this is one of your professors?
Yeah, Megan Kirkwood, my professor.
Okay. And then I guess the last question would be, what's next?
I'm not really sure. The whole idea of like missing people was like spur of the moment, and it just kind of came to me. So at this moment I have no idea. I'm hoping another idea just kind of hits me like that, and I guess I'll go from there when it happens.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Especially for your time and for sharing your body of work and your creative endeavors. And I'd like to thank you all for your time and your interest in our professional practice here at North Dakota State University. So thank you, and for everyone here at the Memorial Union Gallery, keep creative.